Null layer. Null object layer is an invisible layer that has the properties of a visible layer. To assign a parent layer but keep the parent invisible, we use null layers. What does this mean? Let's have an example. The torso here, if we want to rotate the torso, no, I want to rotate the upper part of the body only. We cannot do this because we parented the legs to the torso. How can we solve this? We can choose layer, new, null object. Here comes the null layer. As you can see, the anchor point of the null object appears in the upper left corner of the layer, and the layer is anchored in the center of the composition. We can adjust its scale, its position. And now I will parent the torso to this null and parent the upper legs, left and arm, to the null. If I now rotate the upper torso, it will rotate, and I still have a master controller for the whole body. This is the power of null object. Let's have another example. If we go to the head layer, I want to move the pupil. I have to rotate this pupil and then go to the other pupil and rotate it. But what if I want to animate both layers at the same time with one controller without opening both layers and selecting both properties and animate them at the same time? It's very easy. You can make null layer. The shortcut is Ctrl-Alt-Shift-Y. I can parent both pupils layers to the null object. Where is the null object? It is the center of the composition, don't forget that. So before making any parenting, I should adjust its position, its scale. Then I parent the null, parent both pupils to the null layer. Now I can move both pupils with this null. Very powerful tool. Another important use for null object that we can apply expression controls effect to null layer and then use the null as a control layer for the effects and animations of the whole character. What does this mean? After Effects provides us with a powerful effects and expression controls. We can select any type of this, and we will go through all this, most of these effects in our course, but let's now explain the concept in a very simple way. Let's select slider control. I want, for example, to parent the upper leg to, where is the slider? Where did she go? You should first lock this panel so it will not appear anymore. Now I can go to the rotation of the upper leg and parent it to the slider. Now the slider will drive the rotation of this leg. In the previous lesson we learned to collect all the animated properties in the essential graphics. We can make the same thing here in the null object and make sliders for all effects, and then make this effects drive the character. We can make, for example, make point slider and parent the null objects. We can make point sliders, rename it pupil. I hit enter and rename it pupil. Then I go to the head and parent the position of this slider, but first of all I should zero the position. What's meaning by zero? I go to After Effects and use one of its wonderful properties, zero position, zero the position of the point slider. Yes, now I can parent the position of the pupil, and now I can drive the position of the pupil with this point slider. But the movement is very strong. I can go. How can this parenting happens? We parent the property of the position with this slider using expression. Expression ordered this layer, ordered the position of this layer to follow the values of these sliders. We can modify this expression. I want the movement of more slower, so I divide it by 5, for example. Divided by 5. Now when I move the values of this point slider, it's not very fast. We can collect all the animated properties of this character and its precomposition in one null object. We call this null master control layer, and we can also make some limits to this slider. What does this mean? I can go to the slider controller, for example, edit value, and make, please don't go beyond -30 and don't go beyond 30. Now the values of this slider will only 30 and moves from 30 to -30. And I can also make another thing. I can add this slider to the essential graphic. Here I go to Effects, Slider Control, Pupil Control. I can just drag them as I have dragged upper leg rotation, and I can add this point slider pupil. As you can see, the limits that I put to this slider is here. I can't go beyond 30 or -30, and you can make the limits as you want. We can benefit a lot from the uses of null object expression and sliders in the process of rigging our characters.